What's going on, fight fans? We are back. Football is back tonight, and more importantly, JewJitsuDan is back tonight with us. He was absent last week for UFC Paris, but he made it barely in time. Dan, I'm happy to have you back.
It's good to be back, boys. It's been a nice 2 weeks vacation. Being in, obviously, I was in Paris, not too far from where the fights were, but excited to be back here breaking down the fights.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's just not the same when the three of us aren't together. So really looking forward to this time with the three of us. Next week I'll be absent, and then there's a week off UFC, and then we'll be back October 1st. But can't wait to chop this card up with you guys. I think we got a lot of good opportunity to make it rain this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. I don't want to waste any more time getting to this one. I know everyone has football starting at 8 o'clock Eastern, so gonna hop right into this, right? I mean, first fight on the card. It's a pay-per-view. We're finally back to a pay-per-view. And we have an interesting one, right? Light heavyweight division. Iwan Cutelaba going against Johnny Walker. Cutelaba currently minus 195 on DraftKings. Comeback on Johnny Walker plus 165. And, you know, Kev, we spoke off stream about these glasses, and I knew I had to bring them out for this show, and I'm bringing them out early. I'm bringing them out with a bang. Johnny Walker plus 165 in this spot. I love it. I think all three of us love this. I know we locked it in already for the KP Kings first bet. I just think this guy, he has more to offer. Cutelaba is very one-dimensional, right? He's just looking to grapple, not dominant per se. I mean, if he's able to grapple you, he can hold you there, but he's not any threat on the feet. He's not going to threaten you with the submission. So Johnny Walker, being that he's a bigger guy, he's got longer reach. He's like 5 inches taller than Cutelaba. And he's also got pretty decent takedown defense. I think when he does get taken down, he fights his way back up very easily. He's obviously on a little bit of a losing skid. Back-to-back losses, Thiago Santos. And then his last fight, he lost to Jamal Hill by knockout, one of the most meme-worthy knockouts of the year. But this guy could fight. I mean, he had a quick rise to fame, quick rise to stardom, and then it was a fast fall. But I still think he could fight, right? I mean, the guy's pretty young. He's 30 years old. And I just feel like this is a marquee matchup for him. The fact that we're getting him at plus 165, I'd bet him at a coin flip in this fight. So this juice is just like a cherry on top.
Yeah. I'll be honest. I think that if this line was flip-flopped, I really wouldn't be surprised. Like, I just don't really understand the justification of Cutelaba at this number, right? I mean, mind you, they've both lost 4 of their last 5, so they're on an unusual skid. There's no doubt that Cutelaba is going to have that wrestling advantage, that grappling advantage. But, you know, like you said, Matt, Walker has incredible takedown defense. You know, he has that athletic ability where he has that balance. You know what I'm saying? You know, when someone takes a shot, he's able to stay on 2 feet and avoid that takedown. And, man, Walker is dangerous. Like, I was singing this the other day, and I don't know if this is a bold take or it's kind of a good take, but I feel like Johnny Walker is like the Brazilian Yuri Prochazka in a sense, just like the style that he brings to the table, you know, the way he like switches stance, you know, those very dangerous kicks. And look, there was a point in time where Johnny Walker was literally knocking on the door of a title shot, right? I mean, when he fought, was it Corey Anderson? When Corey Anderson, you know, beat Walker, I mean, Anderson got a shot at, was it Jan Blachowicz? So, I mean, Walker is like, you know, he's very highly touted, man. And although he's on this unusual skid, I think this is a very, very good matchup for him and a good bounce back spot. And we're getting this incredible value while we're at it. I'm like super, super stoked that we're all on the same side on this one, because I think this is a really good matchup for Walker to just get the job done. So go ahead, Dan. I'm really curious to see what you have to add on this one.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think we're all on the Walker side, but it's just crazy to think how the UFC sort of hype train can turn around, right? Like you said, like Walker came into the UFC, you know, big, quick finishes, one after the other, and you know, if he beats Corey Anderson, he could have been fighting for a title. And you know, I just think this line, there's a little bit of recency bias, and especially like you mentioned, that knockout to Hill was pretty brutal. You know, one of those meme knockouts, right? So it's tough. And Walker even came out to say that he was, you know, I don't know what to make of it, whether you call it an excuse or not, but he was saying how he's been sort of smoking weed the last few years, and it's been messing with him. And he kind of cut that out for this fight. It seemed like it was giving him some anxiety, and we'll see. I mean, I like Walker because of the physical attributes that he brings, and also on the Cutelaba side, like the guy has. You can make the case that he's only got a round and a half of fighting him. I mean, Dustin Jacoby fight, he comes in that first round and lands takedown after takedown after takedown, but he had nothing left to give, you know? So Walker, if he can keep this at distance, he needs to watch out for Kutulaba's wild hooks, because he comes in like a berserker, this guy. So there is some risk there, but I think the physical traits that Walker brings, and he seems to understand that he needs to come in a little bit more measured. So if he can, put it all together, I think, he can look like the favorite in there come Saturday night.
Yeah. You mentioned that the Dustin Jacoby fight, and I alluded to this earlier, guys. Like, so many red flags, the way he just like empties the gas tank in that first round, like the way he manages his cardio. I think he's got a very poor IQ. I really don't think that Cutelaba has a strong finishing ability. And man, Walker is so dangerous. Like, mind you, he's gotten flatlined quite a few times in the UFC, has a pretty weak chin, but Cutelaba isn't like known to be a striker, right? Like, he's not known to have.
He got flatlined too. He got flatlined too by Ankalaev, right?
Yeah, Ankalaev. So, man, I think this is a very good spot for Walker. This is going to look money in the bank.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like we're going to get a new mythical fighter in this one, right? Sober Johnny Walker. It just feels like it's right. We see that come time and time again. But I'm happy we're all on the same side here. Let me take these glasses off because I certainly do not have, a special glasses conviction in this upcoming fight, right? We got Irina Aldana taking on Macy Chiasson. Chiasson, she fought at 145 her last time out. Looked really good, in my opinion. I think that's her natural weight class, but due to everything surrounding that weight class and the lack of fighters in there, she finds herself fighting down at 135 in this matchup versus Irina Aldana, who last fought and beat Yana Kanitskaya, knocked out Ketlin Vieira the fight before that. So, Aldana's got some finishing value on her side, right? And Chiasson, we saw last time out, she's kind of happy to grapple, land takedowns when needed, happy to just win the fight pretty much. But if she's not able to get those takedowns in this matchup, I think it's going to be tough. Aldana is very strong for 135. I don't think that size difference is going to play a huge factor here for Chiasson. So I feel like Aldana, if she could keep this fight standing, she just has a little bit too much to offer for Macy in this spot. And, the line is, a little bit wider than I like. I mean, right now we got Aldana at -180, Chiasson at -150. With these women's fights, I mean, we see it all the time, right? These underdogs just come barking. They come, cashing tickets at dog money. But that train stops eventually. I think, to quote Yanni the Greek a little bit, I know it's he's not having a good time of recently. But there is some regression due for those dogs here in the women's MMA. And I feel like this is just one of those spots. Irina Aldana could potentially catch Macy here with something. I feel like she could just win a more dominant, like 30-27 decision. I'm not banking on a finish, but not going to have anything set in stone for this fight, I don't think.
I don't know. I know we spoke about this before, and I mentioned how high I am on Aldana here. I just, besides being high on Aldana, I think it's more of the mental of Macy Chiasson that I don't trust here. She's admittedly had issues, making 135. She's talked about how, the weight cut really affects her, and she feels more comfortable at 145. The problem is there's no fights at 145. So she's kind of in this tough spot. So, I think, she's tall for the division, but I think she's coming in against Aldana, who's also, not the same size, but of similar. So I think from a takedown perspective, you expect Macy to try and push her up against the cage and kind of control her and eventually kind of work for those single and double legs. But I don't know. Aldana, she has quick hands. She knows what the game plan is for her opponent. She knows what she wants to do.
She's got power too.
Yeah, but I think on the feet, Aldana has that, has the better footwork, has the quicker hands, and can probably land more. So, the question will become if she can, sort of deflect the, getting pushed up against the cage and getting control there. So we've seen that happen to Aldana in the past. Whether that can happen again, I don't think so. I'm on the Aldana side, but Kev, I'm curious to see what you think.
Yeah, man. I mean, for one, she hasn't looked incredibly well versus Norma Dumont, but it's so important to know that fight was at 145. And I mean, we've seen time and time again how a fighter can look night and day in a different division. And one of you guys alluded to this, man. Like that weight cut is significant for her, right? I mean, she's a big lady. She is going to have a 4 inches in reach in the spot. But, I look at the Aldana side. She's got very, very crisp hands, and that's just like the name of her game. She's not looking to take this to the match. She's not looking to submit you. She's just looking to be that Mexican brute fighter that's just going to land at a high rate. Mind you, she does have some defensive deficiencies. She absorbs around 6 strikes per minute. So that's pretty significant. Now she is coming off of a 14-month layoff. I believe she just had a broken foot. So it was like nothing significant of that matter. That's something that she can heal up and get back to speed. But man, she's so crisp on the feet. With Chiazon, one thing that I notice is in the clinch, she does have really nice knees, elbows that she can kind of squeeze in there. 5-2 in the UFC, training out of Fortis MMA. So, you can never count out Safe Saud, man. I mean, he's one of the best in the business. The way he evolves his fighters, those mid-game, those mid-fight adjustments, man, they're on point. The way he's able to like take full advantage of like that psychology of his fighters is really is a beautiful sight to see. And, for that reason, I'm just going to fade this fight all around. I don't really have a strong lean on this fight. There's no doubt that Aldana has that power. Of course, coming off the layoff, but at 34, I do question a little bit, maybe if there's going to be a step back. I doubt it. But it should be a good fight, right? I mean, if this is at distance for 15 minutes, Aldana's going to win 30-27, easy peasy. But if Chiazon wants to initiate that grappling, either try to take this to the mat or, hold her up against the cage, I think we could see maybe a greasy split decision here. I think it really all comes down to the way Chiazon approaches this fight, right? Because Aldana is incredibly dangerous at range. And she's got power, man. She's got significant power for this division with that Mexican blood, that Mexican spirit. So I expect this to go the distance, but no strong lean on this fight.
Yeah, and I think Aldana has a speed advantage here too, and it's kind of interesting being that
Absolutely.
Macy's the bigger fighter, and she's going to be the one trying to close the distance. It typically doesn't work out that way. If you're longer, you want to stay at range and pick it apart. But Aldana, like I mentioned, she's faster. She's got more power. Macy, I feel like when she strikes, it's kind of not sluggish. I don't want to insult her, but it's kind of seems like you could telegraph it. And someone that strikes like Aldana, right? I feel like she's just going to be one step ahead of Macy throughout this whole fight. And Kev, you mentioned it. If this fight takes place at distance, like I like Aldana's chances there. And as I mentioned before, I don't see, Macy having success taking her down in the clinch just because Aldana is strong. And, the size advantage doesn't mean too much here because as Dan alluded, I mean, I think Aldana's 5'9", Macy's, 5'11". The size isn't going to be that great. I think, what we have to look at more so is that speed advantage that Aldana is going to bring to the table here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Macy's definitely used to fighting a smaller opponent, and I think, watch for the jab and the left hook of Aldana. That's really, I think, going to be the difference maker here. I see her kind of peppering her for the first round. I think, the first round will be very telling because if this makes it past the 7-minute mark, given the weight cut, I really don't see any way that Macy can kind of last. So even, I don't even hate like an Aldana round 2, round 3 finish, because you've got the striking advantage and then you've got an opponent who, can't handle a weight cut. So we'll see.
Yeah, you're kind of getting into Kev's territory there, betting those round finishes.
Well, it's not. It's just I think again when you look at fighters that have some issues with cardio and kind of fading, which we've seen Chiazon do that in the past. I'm more inclined to sprinkle.
Yeah, I mean, if there's one thing about her KO versus Vieta, it's aged quite well, right? I mean, Vieta just beat Holly Holm, who's one of the greatest women's mixed martial artists of all time. So it's going to be a fun scrap. But again, you can't count Safe Saud. The game plan is going to be on point. She's not going to be at range for 15. I fully expect her to initiate that grappling. But it's just a fade. But it should be a fun one, no doubt about it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, let's just jump into this next one. Don't want to waste any more time. Kev, I'm going to let you lead the dance here. This is your boy right now. I mean, he keeps winning you money, stacks on stacks on stacks. Yeah, Kevin Holland, minus 195 now. The line has moved down a little bit. Going against Daniel Rodriguez, D-Rod, 35 years old, hasn't fought in over a year. He comes back at plus 165 right now. So, Kev, I'm not going to say anything further. I want you to lead the dance here.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'll start off on the D-Rod side, right? I mean, he's 6-1 in the UFC, man. He's got really crisp boxing. I mean, how many fighters in the UFC average, or not average, but land over 8 strikes landed, per minute? I mean, he's incredibly active. He's got that Muay Thai style. He's going to throw in those low leg kicks, occasionally the body kicks, but not as much as I'd like to see. This matchup, look, he looked very crisp versus Kevin Lee. But this is a very, very, very different stylistic matchup, right? I mean, Kevin Lee was coming off multiple ACL surgeries, on the tail end of his career.
So moving up a weight class.
Exactly. So I don't really put a ton of stock into that. D-Rod does absorb well over 5 strikes per minute. So, he is there to be hit. But man, Holland is an animal. I mean, look, this is going to be at a catch weight, if I'm not mistaken, right? It's going to be at 180.
Yeah. That's
So,
because Rodriguez couldn't make the weight.
Right.
It's worth putting some stock into that.
I think so. Kevin Holland, man, I mean, 81-inch reach at this division is off the chain. I alluded to this in a Spaces earlier this week. If you're talking about a pure stylistic fighter, right, who's most similar to John Jones in the UFC, I think it's Kevin Holland. Not to that extent, but just like what he brings to the table with his length and how he's able to utilize it. Man, he's so lengthy, he's so crisp. And what I love about Kev, man, is you already know you're going to get the best version out of him each and every time. Like I already know he's going to come in much evolved, going to show wrinkles into this game. And I honestly would not be surprised if Holland takes down D-Rod in this spot. Holland does average, I mean, things like 0.8 takedowns per 15. So it's not the name of his game. But man, I just have this feeling that he's going to add these wrinkles. And, he knows what D-Rod is bringing to the table. But man, I love this matchup for Holland. This is my conviction play. I've already got 3.2 units locked in at minus 210, which is it's kind of unfortunate. The line's right now at minus 195 on DK. But look, I know he's going to get the job done. I'm very, very, very confident that Holland is going to dominate here. But with that karate style, looking forward to what you guys have to say, though. It seems like for the most part, you guys are probably on Holland, but curious to see.
Yeah, I like Holland here. I think it's it's a good spot for him. I didn't realize how old Daniel Rodriguez was. He's 35. I actually heard that he just had a kid not long ago. So who knows sort of how that sort of affected him. Again, he's taking this fight on short notice. It's at a catch weight of 180 pounds, which usually, I mean, who was Holland supposed to fight? Do any of you guys know?
I want to say this was like, and I could be wrong, but I'll double check. I want to say this was like just a late addition to this.
No, but he was slated to fight somebody else here, and then that sort of got pushed through. And then what happened is Rodriguez couldn't make 170, so that's why they're making it out of catch weight.
Oh, I see. I'm looking on Tapology, and it didn't have Holland slated to fight anybody, which is strange.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'd saw that in an interview somewhere, but. Listen, I mean, I think the fact this being a catch weight tells me that maybe Rodriguez isn't maybe not conditioned to do the full fight, or maybe he's not in fight shape. I'm sure fight shape, right? Meaning the full camp. Obviously, the guy is ready to rock and roll for sure. Chris boxing, like you said, throws a mean 1-2, and he's had a lot of success in the UFC. So it's by no means an easy fight for Holland, but. Like you said, I mean, I think, he seems to be, getting momentum in the last few fights, and it seems like he has he's putting it all together. Rodriguez isn't too much of a takedown threat, so I would love to see Rodriguez, kind of go for that. We've seen Holland, have issues with wrestlers. It was mainly at, 185. So this being at 180, you wonder if that's going to play a factor. But, I love the conviction play. I like Holland. I think, win here and, then we're talking, right? D-Rod's no pushover.
Yeah. No, not at all. And I feel like that's part of the plan with Holland, right? It's almost like they gave him an older Cowboy Oliveira, right, in his welterweight debut. From there, they give him an older Tim Means to a guy, to build a name off of a little bit there. He got the finish. And now, you're kind of getting him into that, right outside the top 15 area with D-Rod here. Someone who hasn't fought in a year. He has tons of credibility within the division. Tough name, a win over D-Rod here, I think obviously propels him into that top 15 in the welterweight rankings, then probably a top 10 matchup next from there. It's almost like the UFC is like meticulously building up Kevin Holland here, which makes the line, a little bit of a head scratcher at minus 195. I kind of lined Holland here at like minus 230, minus 250. I expected to see him as a larger favorite. Another line I'm looking at is the under 2.5, minus 120. Judging off, Holland's last 2 fights in the welterweight division, he's in here to make a splash. We did see him get caught in that Oliveira fight the first time, right, in that first round. I mean, he lost the first round, across the scorecard. So it's not, out of the realm of possibilities for D-Rod to catch Kevin Holland here. That's why I feel like that under 2.5 is a little bit safer, kind of at a pick'em price, rather than laying 2-1 on Holland just in case he gets caught. But that's more so a conviction on the style that Holland's been bringing into the octagon lately, right? I mean, he's coming in, he's looking to bang. I mean, he's got a willing dance partner in D-Rod. D-Rod's not going to look to stand on the outside and pick apart. He's looking to brawl with you. I mean, we've seen it in some of his fights. And, he's getting a willing dance partner in Kevin Holland. So I feel like this matchup kind of caters to both their styles a little bit. And, if there's anything to be said on who I think gets this job done, I think Kevin Holland ultimately gets it done. I think he has more ways to do it. Like you mentioned, Kev, the 81-inch reach is just unfair. His body build and type for the welterweight division just creates a whole mess of problems for anyone that tries to go against him, especially if you're a grappler too, because that length is obviously going to help you out. And it's not like he's fighting guys that weigh 200 on fight night like he was up at middleweight. So this division has seemed to be kind to Kevin Holland. I think he continues his path forward. His last time out there, he looked like a world beater. I mean, I remember saying to you guys afterwards, like, this guy can compete at the top of this division right now. Like, he doesn't have to wait. He doesn't have to build up anymore. I think right now he competes with anybody in that top 15 in the welterweight division. So with that being said, I can't say the same for Daniel Rodriguez here. I favor Holland to get a finish in this fight. I'm not sure exactly what the line is, but if you're getting under 2-1 on the money line, I feel like it's just a little safer to take him out right there like you did, Kev.
Yeah, I'm with you. And don't get me wrong. I think that there is going to be a good spot to fade Holland, when he's facing that glorified wrestler. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not sure if I'll fade him then either. I just feel like his makeup right now for this division, it's going to be hard for anyone to take him down and keep him there. He might be able to get taken down, but holding the man down, it's going to be an issue.
That's a good point. And Holland, man, he absorbs 2.4 strikes per minute. So like, I feel like it caters really well for this style, man, because Holland, D-Rod wants to strike, right? He wants to box. And the way Holland is just so elusive, his footwork is really, really nice. Man, I've alluded to this, with the Tim Means breakdown, with the Oliveira breakdown, man. I mean, look, there were some big question marks early in Holland's career, right? The psychology that he had, the head that he had on his shoulders, just that immature style, just kind of playing with his food, But man, I think that he's really come to form, at 29 years old. He's still super young. He's matured. And man, I think that this is a great spot for him, right? I mean, he's never been KO'd. I think that he's got a pretty decent chin, right? But man, this is going to be a good spot for K Holland to really put himself on the map and get that glorified top 10, top 15 matchup next time around.
Yeah, and just looking outside the lines with Holland, I mean, the UFC is they clearly have a plan in place to build up Holland here. I mean, we see it. He's appearing on weigh-in shows, right, for other cards. He's being all over the UFC's production. I mean, for God's sake, the UFC 278, he was doing a live broadcast with Rob Gronkowski and, a few of those guys, right? So this guy, they clearly have a plan for him, right, if you want to look outside the lines a little bit. And it's hard to see them setting him up for failure against a 35-year-old Daniel Rodriguez, who, I think the three of us can agree he's not going to compete for the belt in that division, especially not now at his age. He's going to have to go on a serious run to do so. So, like I mentioned earlier, it almost seems like this is the next step for Kevin Holland to build his name a little bit more in this division. You're muted, Dan.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, no, I think you're right. It's really the perfect fight for Holland, because if he comes out and looks good, Daniel Rodriguez has everybody's respect here. But I think one lean that I have for this fight is actually the over. I know and I know you guys mentioned you like the finish, but I think with the added weight, I think that and this being again a pretty competitive fight, I don't know, and Rodriguez himself is a very durable guy, right? I mean, the guy I think he's been knocked down maybe once or twice.
He's got good cardio too. He's got real good cardio.
Great cardio, So I think I know even with this fight being short notice for him, you can expect him to come in shape. So the added weight, I see maybe the durability factor kind of coming into play a little bit, and I don't know what the over 1.5 is here, but actually,
I would guess it's probably
-215.
Yeah, it's just -200.
Yeah, so it seems like the sharps are on that too. It seems like the sharps are kind of having the same tank. It's a good play, right? I mean, Holland himself has been a finisher, but
Yeah.
You know, he's also, once he kind of, you know, steps up in competition, he stops finishing guys.
Yeah. From the wise words of Kevin Holland, this is just another California kid that he's just going to beat up. That's what he said.
Yeah, I love him though. I love this spot for him.
All right, so I think 3 of us are on Holland here as well. But let's move on to this co-main. I mean, this is a fight a lot of people shook their head at, right, when this one was made. I mean, you got Li Jingliang going against Tony Ferguson at welterweight, right? I think when this fight was announced, a lot of people, you know, scratching their heads like this wasn't what we thought Tony Ferguson. You know, we thought maybe Dan Hooker, maybe Conor McGregor, even someone like that, even like a Dustin Poirier, right? But now he's moving on up to welterweight, fighting the Leech. Leech coming off a knockout win on his own, right, in July against Muslim Salikov. I was there in person to watch it. Interesting matchup here. I mean, 4-1, Tony Ferguson definitely has the grappling edge. Tony Ferguson definitely has the grappling edge in this fight. Kev, I don't know if you heard me. Tony Ferguson has the grappling edge in this fight. And, you know, it's just interesting because the Leech isn't young on his own right. It says 34 years old there. Tony Ferguson, 38. Damn, this is a tough matchup, right? I mean, we're looking at the lines here. The Leech is minus 305. Tony Ferguson is plus 255. I'm all the way in on Tony Ferguson. I mean, I already convinced, well, I think I convinced Dan to join me on the dark side here. Obviously, Tony's coming off that brutal knockout loss to Michael Chandler, his last time out. Probably the most vicious knockout in the past year or two. The next one that comes to mind is like the Yuri spinning elbow against Dom Reyes, but it's going to be interesting to see how Tony responds to that because he looked fantastic up until that point. I mean, he won that first round against every judge's scorecard against Michael Chandler, right? I mean, this guy is at the top of that lightweight division. He's a big boy too. I mean, he's not a little 155er. So I don't think this move up to 170 is anything to, you know, hold your breath at if you like Tony Ferguson. I feel like the Leech, you know, obviously he's got power. He's got a mean hook, but his striking isn't anything that's going to woo you. It's not going to surprise Tony Ferguson, I don't think. It's not like he has, you know, many leg kicks in his arsenal. It's pretty much all hands, outside punches, nothing really down the pipe. And, you know, if the Leech wants to initiate grappling, I think that favors Tony Ferguson. Wouldn't be surprised to see Tony try to shoot a takedown or two, go back to his old ways. Obviously, he's 38 years old now. He's moving up the weight class. So how effective is his wrestling going to be? That's the question. But we saw the Leech on his back against Muslim Salikov his last time. I mean, Salikov for that first round controlled him on the ground for a good few minutes there until they finally made it back to the feet. So, you know, seeing that and seeing how Tony looked in that first round against Michael Chandler, plus 255, I'm almost like, okay, I'm taking this bet. One of these big dogs have to cash, right? I mean, it's kind of a fool's way to think, but judging off the way things have been going lately, I mean, who says Tony Ferguson at plus 255 is a bad bet? I mean, maybe Kev does. I haven't really heard his take yet, so I'd love to.
Let me just start off by saying this. If you told me in 2019 that Li Jingliang would be a minus 300 favorite versus Tony Ferguson, I would have, 3 years later, I would have smacked you across the face. I mean, like, what in the world? Look, Tony Ferguson, so much respect for the man, right? I mean, look, he won 12 straight in the UFC, right? Former UFC lightweight champion, the true boogeyman. I mean, the way he fights is just, he's just like a pest, you know, he just doesn't go away. He's constantly throwing knees. He's constantly throwing punches, just constantly throwing something at you, just every wrench in the shed. And, you know, man, I was watching that knockout last night with Chandler. I'm like, oh my gosh, I really hope this doesn't happen again, because how can you not love Tony Ferguson, right? I mean, just the style, everything. And I'm on Tony Ferguson this week. I think that he's going to get the job done. You know, I think that, look, I understand.
KP, baby, KP.
Look, I understand he's 38 years old, right? But when you've shared an octagon with likes of Michael Chandler, Beneil Dariush, Charles Oliveira, Justin Gaethje, Donald Cerrone, Anthony Pettis, Kevin Lee, Rafael dos Anjos, I mean, the list goes on. When you share the octagon with these guys, I feel like it brings like a natural IQ, like in your career. I don't know if this makes any sense, but I just feel like Ferguson is going to find a will and find a way in this spot. You know, Jing Liang, you know, he doesn't, I don't feel like he really excels in anything. Like, you know, for someone that's nicknamed the Leech, you know, and you're averaging like what, 1.2 takedowns per 15, I just don't really like it. And if Jing Liang literally wants to stand for 15 versus Tony, I mean, Tony's literally just going to pour it on. I really believe it. I mean, I think Jing Liang does have a few knockouts on his record, but I just don't see him knocking out Ferguson here. I think that Ferguson's going to be a little bit more, maybe not cautious, just a little bit more sound in his defensive striking. And at this number, I mean, it is screaming from the rooftops to hammer Tony at plus 200 plus. I just think that he's going to get the job done here. This is a great spot. He's last point. He's going over to the Jackson Wink MMA camp there. Getting a change of scenery, changing look, and I think that's going to be exactly what Ferguson needs, especially after that knockout just a few months ago, which again makes me a little bit hesitant. But again, Jing Liang, he's just not technical with the striking. 42% accuracy. It's just not put together the way you want to see it happen. So let's rock and roll, baby. Tony Ferguson by knockout round 2.
Yeah, I mean, it's I was kind of going back and forth with this fight. I was actually initially on the Leech, and just kind of digging into this. Obviously, I sort of just got off the plane. I had all kinds of time to really dig into this one. And and the last time Tony Ferguson landed a takedown in a fight was like 7 years ago.
Wow.
7 years. He won that fight by rear naked choke.
But see, like if he's gonna initiate a takedown, you've got to imagine it's in this spot with the new camp, like the new revolution. So you never know, right?
It's you're absolutely right. I think Leech, heavy hands, no doubt, great cardio, and he seems to be the kind of fighter that gets better as the fight goes on. Whereas Tony is, a little bit more wild, a little bit more unorthodox, right? That's why we love him. So the question that I have is really more from a durability standpoint. I mean, Tony had never really been flatlined like he did his last fight. So how he comes back from that on pretty quick turnarounds on top of that, which is kind of scary, to be honest. Something like that, I would have loved for him to take a year, but maybe because he's 38, he realized he doesn't have that much time. He's not killing himself with a weight cut here, so that can definitely play in his favor. And he's fought at welterweight before, early on in his career, and has he's had quite a bit of success, a lot of knockouts actually. So it seems like his power really carries over to 170. So I love Tony here. I think it's really his back is all up against the wall, and I like it when guys are in that position. He's at a camp like you mentioned. And another thing too, guys, call me crazy, but he dyed his hair blonde. The last time he dyed his hair blonde,
yeah.
Who was he fighting? Give me a second.
I couldn't recall.
Katsunori Kikuno.
When was that? That had to have been way back when.
2014. He won that fight by knockout. So I don't know if he's trying to send us some sort of cryptic message here, but he seems to be bring the old guy back. So we'll see what he comes with, but let's ride. Tony Ferguson.
You can never count out the blonde dye, right? I mean, it's just a sight.
Why bring it out now? Why do it now?
Truth be told.
What are you trying to tell us, Tony? What do you know?
Hey, Jigga, the shades are out. Second time this episode, the shades have come out.
That's a first.
Both on dogs. On dogs.
Both.
So I really think I would be way more surprised to see Tony Ferguson get finished than Leech to get finished. I mean, I understand. Obviously, he got that brutal knockout. I think that was back in January or something, right? Against Michael Chandler. But historically, this guy's been tough to finish. And then look at the shot that took him out of there, right? I mean, any man walking this earth, they get hit with that kick, they're out. It's not a matter of, durability at that point. It's just a perfectly landed kick. Really no way to defend it. No chin that could withstand. I don't even think Marvin Vettori could withstand a kick like that. And, the
only one that can is Drew Dober. That's it. Right.
Maybe Drew Dober, yeah. But even so, I mean, look at the lines. I mean, the Leech to win by knockout plus 110 against Tony Ferguson. It's just, I don't see it, right? I just don't see a hook knocking out Tony Ferguson. Obviously, he's been injured. Look at the Justin Gaethje fight. I mean, he was injured the entire time. He was being able to get hurt. But I don't think the Leech strikes and approaches, his setups similar to Justin Gaethje does. I mean, Tony was being faked out, by low attempts. They might get taken down, getting whacked over the top with an overhand by Gaethje. I don't see Leech setting up strikes in the same manner. And I think an Imanari roll is live here. I think Tony could definitely pull one of those out of his ass and catch the Leech. I mean, the Leech we've seen. I said this to you guys. I know I got some pushback, but he's pretty lost in the grappling department, the Leech. And I feel like someone as creative as Tony could really get him in something and find himself in some trouble. And I also feel like, the elbows of Tony are always dangerous. I feel like there's just a lot more ways for Tony to hurt the Leech or put him in compromising positions than vice versa. So for that reason, at plus 250, it kind of makes my job easy. Sir Sparty, thank you. Steven, thank you. The shades are indeed fire. Got them on Canal Street for like $8, haggled the guy down from 15. But yeah, I'm feeling good about it. I feel really good about Tony in the spot. I mentioned to you guys, Tony by subs like plus 800.
Yeah, I'm taking a stab at that, guaranteed. How can you not? Leech is already he's lost like I think 4 or 5 times by rear naked choke. I mean, he can get sub, and Tony is great jiu-jitsu. If he just leans on his jiu-jitsu, Eddie Bravo black belt. No messing around.
Eddie Bravo black belt indeed, and I feel like I'm looking at signs, right? I mean, Li Jingliang fought UFC Long Island, Tony Ferguson plus 800 submission. You know who else fought UFC Long Island? Our boy Matt Schnell. What do we cash there? Matt Schnell plus 800 by submission. It's like the signs, bang, bang, bang. We're all over the place here. Look at one more sign for you guys. Who's fighting the main event? Khamzat Chimaev. What did he do to the Leech? He submitted him. We got signs all around us, boys. I mean, plus 800, the Tony Ferguson sub. I like it.
I love it, man. Man, you said $8 on Canal Street. If you told me those were Gucci shades, I would have believed you right off the jump, man.
Yeah, I think they're a Cartier knockoff, if I'm not mistaken. I think Dan knows a little bit about that. But, I like that we're all on Tony here. I'm happy to talk you off of Tony. Or maybe Dan talked you off a little bit, Kev.
Well, look, I hate to cut you guys off, but I'm looking at MK's comment. Proto and KevDog versus Dan. Who wins in a match?
You guys are about to hit
find out in November.
We've got a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt on our hands, so I mean, JewJitsuDan is nothing to play around with now. Myself, and Proto have plans on getting a little BJJ training up until November 12th and beyond. So I know me and Matt will definitely be scrapping. But to go 2v1,
we'll live stream it. Don't worry, it'll be in person.
To go 2v1, that's a big tough task ahead of us. So.
Absolutely, but glad we're all on the same side there. Let's move on to the next fight. It is the main event here. The widest line on the card, right? I mean, this is a fight. Speaking of fights that get made and your head's scratching a little bit, like why this matchup? What sense does this make? But we get Nate Diaz on his last fight of his UFC contract, taking on Khamzat Chimaev, right? I mean, Khamzat Chimaev, up until his last fight, absorbed 1 significant strike in his 4 fights in the UFC. Goes against Gilbert Burns, absorbs like 119 in that fight. A lot of people say that it showed, Khamzat's weaknesses, right? That people were saying he got exposed in that fight. I don't agree with that take. I mean, clearly he didn't have his best performance. He pretty much gassed himself out in that first round and just survived until the end there. But I think he won that one 29-28, if I'm not mistaken. It was a closer fight than everyone imagined it would be.
Yeah.
But he finds himself against a legend here, Nate Diaz, who really, for lack of better words, he doesn't give a fuck. Nate Diaz, I feel like, is the right guy to come in here against Khamzat. He's not going to be scared about the hype of this guy. It's just another man in front of him. Nate's fought at 170 before. I mean, some say he beat Leon Edwards his last time out, if you want to count that big moment at the end, a little flash knockout pointed at him. That's the now champ. So to line him at plus 750 in this matchup, it's pretty wild, right? I mean, I think if Khamzat gets this fight to the mat, I think he's in a little bit of danger there. Obviously, he has the great neutralizer being his wrestling background and his strength, more than anything. But Nate Diaz, like triangle choke, it could be there potentially. He just has to, catch it real quick. Not to say that, he's been submitting people with triangles recently. It's been a long time since he's done that, but he's one of the best, guys on the ground in the UFC. So for that to be out of the realm of possibilities, counting that out, I think it's a little crazy. Anytime you see a line like this, actually the line just jumped right in front of my eyes. Khamzat now minus 1,500. Nate Diaz up from 750 to 900. Just like that while I'm doing this breakdown. So
wow.
It's a little bit crazy. I think that the better line that you're going to want to take in this is going to be a matter of if this fight goes over 1.5 rounds or if it goes under, right? The over 1.5 is minus 140. The under is plus 110. So rather than betting aside here, I feel like you have to hone in on that line there. And, Nate Diaz, he's not an easy man to get out of there. Khamzat was finishing people first round, second round, first round. goes to decision with Gilbert Burns. I don't think Gilbert Burns is tougher than Nate Diaz. Is he better on the? I'm not gonna say is he better on the ground. Is he stronger in the wrestling department a little bit at this point in his career? But I feel like Nate could survive that round and a half. Minus 140 on a 1.5 over under in a 5-round fight. It's almost like a no-brainer in the welterweight division, especially of all divisions. I'm going to be taking the over there, minus 140. I don't know if I'll be taking a side here. I think Khamzat wins, definitely. I mean, just look at the line itself, minus 1,500. You don't have to be a genius to figure that out. But I'm not going to play it. I'm not going to get cute because he could TKO Nate. He could submit Nate. I'm not going to be able to play either of those lines with confidence, knowing it's not a gamble. And then if you want to play the inside the distance prop on its own, you're paying minus 450 there. And Nate, we've seen survive until the end against everyone. Leon Edwards last time out, he should have been finished there. He went into that fight, all cut up already, was bleeding from the jump, still made it to 5 rounds. So I'm kind of confident taking this over 1.5 here. Just have to hope for no TKO in the first round. I think we hit that pretty easily.
Yeah, I love all the overs in this fight. I think, we all know that Khamzat's going to win here. This is, almost an unplayable. He's pretty much unplayable, right? I mean, at pretty much anywhere you try to touch him, I mean, it's just blown completely out of proportion. So you gotta get creative, and I think you have to lean on the fact that Diaz, you're right, has been historically very durable. If he hasn't been, if it hasn't been stopped by a doctor from a cut, how many times has the guy gotten finished in there? Not many. So I just question, you kind of see how Diaz is approaching fight week, and it really seems like he doesn't give a fuck, right? That's fine. We always knew that, but now he's really showing it. He's talking about how he doesn't give a fuck anymore. At the end of the day, he's a fighter. He's not gonna. He's one of these guys that, I think he's saying he's going to fight for the next 15, 20 years. He'll be that old man on the corner trying to pick fight with kids going. He's nuts. He's absolutely nuts. But at the same time, a guy like that, you got to kill him to get him out of there, right? So can Khamzat kill him? I don't know. Can he take him down? Absolutely. The better wrestler. Nate has a lot of, submissions off his back, but in this day and age in the UFC, I mean, how many times do we see that, right? So it's very tough. It's very tough. I'm going to be sprinkling on Nate money line for the culture.
Yeah. The culture.
Just for the culture.
Once MGM releases the exact method of submission, I'll be taking a triangle choke. Depending, I don't care what the fuck the line is. It's
got to be like what would you put the line at? Like rough estimate. I mean, it's got to be like 50 to 1 at least.
I'll put plus 5,000. Yeah, 50 to 1. I mean, you're talking about a plus 900 underdog, right? And you're talking about a specific method, and then you're talking about the specific submission method on that specific method. So 50 to 1, I feel like is a low number. I feel like truthfully, it should be like 100 to 1.
Interesting.
Nate Diaz, round 4, round 5, plus 4,000, plus 4,500 for the culture.
Wow, that's insanity. I just want to start off by saying this. I'm a little disappointed in you, Dan, because I really wish you would have sparked that join up for this breakdown, because that would have been just very much so fitting, right? I mean, Nate Diaz, you know how Nate Diaz goes, man. I mean, there are times he's, ringside, octagon side, he whips out the J and just sparks it right on camera. I mean, such a character, right?
It's, it's going to be sad that the fact that he's not going to be in the UFC anymore, because it's kind of, everybody's talking about it, right? So I don't know what the UFC is doing these days, like, sacrificing like these household names, the Luke Rockholds against the Paulo Costas, the Diaz against Chimaev. It seems like these guys on their last 1-2 fights on their contract that have been around and kind of given the UFC their all. It's like they're it's unfortunate. I actually when I saw this fight, I wasn't it's exciting, yes, but it's not kind of what I'm trying to see, because I don't want to see a guy like Diaz get, absolutely dismantled. I think they know that he's going to win, and I think they're just trying to lay up Chimaev to a title shot, or maybe even like a fight with, Usman after this.
Usman, I was thinking more of Paulo Costa in Brazil, and
you saw what happened with these guys at the UFC PI, they're getting each other's faces. But listen, we would all love to see Diaz win, but at the end of the day, it's and boys, truth be told, You know, Khamzat he's the real deal.
He
This guy
is.
is a monster everywhere.
Yeah.
And
we saw in his last fight he could handle adversity, right? I mean, he didn't look good, but he pushed through, he persevered, he won the third round when he needed to win it. So
oh yeah,
I think you could I think you take a lot more from a performance like that than another domination.
And Gilbert Burns' jiu-jitsu is, you know,
Next level.
He, compared to a guy like Diaz, I mean, it's, you're talking about like an 80cc, stud, right? This guy,
and he's also much physically stronger.
Yeah, younger, strong, all, not as tall, but at the same, just more sort of explosive. And we saw what he was able to do. So I can't see this, him, Khamzat have any issue. Nate has a nice 1-2 that he's caught guys like Leon Edwards and Conor McGregor with, and who knows, man? Who knows?
I think he could catch
him in the 5th round. And,
I think he could catch.
No.
It's not like totally.
I just want to see him clip him. I want to see him clip him once, point at him, laugh.
He's gonna have him.
You see, like that's what's fucked up about this matchup is we're here debating. Can Nate land a good shot, right? Like not even like can he win or anything like that. Like give us competitive fights, especially for. I'm not buying this card. I'll watch it, but I'm not buying it.
Yeah, it's not the greatest. But look, I mean, there's no doubt that Nate Diaz and Dana White have had their disputes, right? I mean, there's no doubt that they're not on the same page. So. Yeah. It's just like that feeling that like he is just throwing them in there literally with a woof. I mean, there is something about Chimaev, man. Like it is so relentless. Like it is so scary, right? Like he's like there are a few fighters that step into that octagon and you just know they are in there to kill. And you just Chimaev is the real deal, man. I just I've said this many oh shit. Sorry, I threw me off track, but no. Fucking Chimaev, man. I mean, look, I've said this for some time now, man. He is the future face of the UFC. With Conor McGregor being, kind of that 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Chimaev just brings so much to the table. Again, it's just that killer mentality, man, that you just rarely see time and time again. And there's this whole narrative. Oh well, Chimaev doesn't really have great cardio. I just don't buy that. Like you look at his. Yeah, I mean, you just look at his previous fight, right? I mean, he landed, 44 significant strikes in round 3, which was the most out of all 3 rounds. So, I mean, there's no doubt that he's gonna pour it on. There's no doubt that Chimaev is training his cardio elusively. And man, I think that Nate is in for a rude awakening. Now, Matt, I know you alluded to this when this fight was slated a few months ago. Like, what are the chances that, like, in round 1, I mean, we just see Nate Diaz just do like a Dana White fool's circus and just like taps for no reason or like just does something stupid, that we've never seen.
It's funny you bring that up because I was just looking. Khamzat to win in the first 60 seconds is plus 1,000, and I might bet it just for that reason. Because like, what are the chances that he walks in? He's just like,
that's what I'm saying.
That would hurt my heart.
And then just like,
I mean, the guy's a free agent. His stock doesn't get hurt or anything like that from that. It probably rises from something like that. I doubt it happens. If it does happen, I'll be like, I fucking called it, but I doubt it does happen. I agree with you. I think Khamzat's cardio is fine. I think he could go full 5 rounds. I really don't question it. I mean, his last fight, you could kind of say he had a little Deontay Wilder moment, right? I mean, he sprinted all the way to the octagon on his walkout. Probably wasted some of his cardio there, kind of like Wilder wearing that 50-pound armor suit going into his fight with Fury. But, will he run out this time? We don't know. I guess we'll see. But no, I really don't think that Chimaev has a cardio issue at all.
Mm-hmm.
No. I love the overs here. I think, if you're going to bet this fight, that's, outside of a bias, bet for the low of Nate Diaz. But if you're going to actually, look at how you want to cap this fight, I think the over is a great spot. Fight to start round 2, fight to start round 3. And, I think, if Diaz can stretch us to a decision, I mean, that's essentially that's a victory to me, right? So I'm going to be hitting the overs on this one.
Yeah, I mean, that's I would say that's kind of ballsy, to be honest. I'm just going to be honest with you, man, just because, I mean, Chimaev, like, he is just so dangerous. And, like, I get, Diaz is known for that durability, right? He's known for that stamina.
Well, he couldn't finish Burns. So, and that was his first real test. So
that's
who knows?
That's fair. That's fair, man. But, man, I just betting on an over in a Chimaev fight is is true.
Profitable.
Yeah, we would have made a fucking boatload of money last time out.
Well, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But man, I don't know if you guys saw like the side by side Nate Diaz from like 14 months ago to his fight.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't care.
Really? I mean,
yeah,
shoot,
he doesn't look like Nick did in Nick's last fight. I mean, I think there's a difference.
You think that he's been like still grinding a training camp, or is he just like smoking weed with his buddies? You know, like this
Probably
is my
both.
time.
Both,
I mean,
probably both.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I have a tough time. I have a tough time thinking that the chin that we know and love about Diaz is going to be there. I mean, for one of you guys mentioned this with the doctor stoppage. I mean, Diaz has so much scar tissue, right, on his face. I mean, it'll only take 5 significant strikes of Chimaev.
I think that's your biggest risk though, because I don't see him getting cold clocked, like knocked out cold.
No, well, like what about like a ragdoll?
Worry about those superficial damage that the ref could stop in. But in his defense, his last fight against Edwards, he already had that cut coming into the fight. Like it was a specific injury. He couldn't train because he couldn't spar because of it. So taking that into account, it's probably fully healed up by now. I mean, the guy hasn't fought in like a year, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm not too worried about that. You only have to survive 7.5 minutes, right, to hit that over 1.5 minus 140. So I'm not too worried about that because that's something that'll take a good few rounds to open up real bad.
Yeah. Any other we ran through this card pretty quick. We got a few minutes left. I mean, any other fight that you guys have your eye on for this this one?
From the prelims?
I mean, I know you were talking about Hakeem Dawodu versus Julian Erosa.
Yeah, I mean, I like that fight. I think it'll be a nice test for Dawodu, and you got a game opponent in Erosa. I was actually wanted to quickly touch on our other sort of
Johan Leoness.
We've got.
Yeah, that's
it. Yeah, the White Lion. That's actually the first fight of the night, and I know we've all got the Canadian repping Quebec MMA, big redemption event after last week. Unfortunately, hurts my heart to say, but I think you have Lanès, who's lost his first fight in the UFC after that nice knockout on the Contender Series against a really tough prospect, and kind of got folded a little bit against Gabe Green. Had the early knockdown and then slowly faded once he didn't get him out of there and gets dropped. But again, I mentioned to you guys, touching on betting on fighters that come in from the Contender Series, lose their first fight in the UFC, and then coming off that into that second fight, I think is a great spot to touch them. The lines don't usually get as sort of skewed, and we saw Lanès get open up at a minus 150, right? And now he's steamed at like a plus 110 or maybe a little bit less, plus 105.
Plus 105, I think we got.
Yeah. So you see some sharp action on there, initially, and then kind of on the way back. So Weeks, I mean, he's a guy who hasn't really impressed me. He's kind of good everywhere, not great anywhere.
I wouldn't even say he's good everywhere, to be honest. I don't think his striking is good at all.
He's his last 2 fights have been against game opponents, right? Ian Gary and Brian Barberina. So you got to give.
Yeah, I mean, Gary just styled on him for 15 minutes.
Yeah, but he lasted in there 3 rounds, and so he's definitely a durable guy. And again, 0-2 in the UFC. His back is up against the wall, so I think it's a great fight. I just think Lanès is going to be able to get him out of there. As durable as Weeks has been, I think Lanès has some serious heavy hands, and it's honestly a killer be killed kind of fight, right? So for me, it's a dog or pass. Whoever's the dog at this point of the week, it's Lanès, and that's why I like him. But it could easily flip by Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, look,
better win, or else no more Canadians. That's it.
3 Canadians on the
Canadian MMA, man. Don't worry, Hakeem Dawodu is definitely smoking Julian Erosa, man. Forget it.
I'll tell you what, I feel like with all the fights that we've bet on that is opening up the prelims, we haven't had the greatest of luck, but that's going to change this weekend. Leoness is going to get the job done. So
it will.
I pray. Well, we record-breaking time this week, 55 minutes. I guess we'll dip out of here a little early. Give you guys some time to get ready for that Thursday night football start of the NFL year. I'll give you a little sneak peek bet. I mean, take Zach Moss to score a touchdown. It's like plus 320 up to plus 360 on FanDuel. A lot of conviction in that play. I really think the Bills are going to get down in the red zone. If we've seen anything from the end of their second half last year, Zach Moss is that red zone guy. I'm not scared about James Cook at this point in the season. I think Zach Moss looks really healthy, really good in the preseason. 1 goal line opportunity. That's all you need. The Bills will get in the goal line.
Little NFL action, right?
Well, NFL, we got to spice it up. It's not counting towards the fight night tracker if it hits. It is not counting.
What if it's parlayed with a UFC fight?
I'm parlaying it with Jake Collier at -400, and we're putting it on the sheet.
with comes about Shemai of -1500, so you can get it in. There you go.
Yeah, right. Just so I can get it in. But guys, thank you so much for joining us here this week. Good luck with everything with 279. Make sure you join us in the Discord if you haven't already. Join us in the spaces when we do that on Saturday. And let's cash out. Let's make some money.
Let's cash in, baby.